Recording down. Okay. Okay, so you guys have your quiz today. We did not finish number 5, did we? So I want to finish number 5. I also want to kind of review what's fair game for this quiz. And then we will finish our 4.3 notes today. So you will have 4.3 homework due next class, which I believe is tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the day 4. Okay. So technically everything on 4.2 to 4.3 is on this quiz. I believe I already kind of told you a few things not to worry about. The things that I have like bracketed, you need to know. Those are things I could test you on. So like in 4.2 numbers 1 and 2, I could test you on a problem like that, give you a triangle, ask you to find sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, cotangent. I said that out of order, but you know what I'm saying. Number 3 is what we're doing right now in number 5 in our 4.3 notes. So one thing I like about these two sections is they kind of go hand in hand. We're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff. So when we get to number 5, we'll do more practice problems like number 3, but that's fair game for the quiz. Things that you should know, but I'm not quizzing you on today, is using your calculator to evaluate, finding the degree or radian or the angle, some basic sine and cosine and word problems. I didn't put any ones like 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 on the quiz. When you get into number 4.3, numbers 1, A, B, B, A, I don't know what's going on here, but all of that's fair game. I did not put coterminals and I did not put the signs. And then the last thing is number 5, which again, I previewed, that's like one of the ones we've already done. So I wanted to finish this to kind of answer a few final questions, review a little bit. And again, we will get as far into this 4.3 notes as I can before we go to lunch. When we go to lunch, we will quiz when we come back, and then we will finish the 4.3 notes. Any extra time you can work on homework. Before I get into number 5, does anyone else have any quiz questions or anything about something I mentioned already?
Wait, so
JJ.
So you said number 4 was on?
Number 4 is not.
Not.
Nope, no, neither number 4 is on the quiz. I did not ask for any of these signs where I'm like positive or negative. My quizzes are all one-siders and I ran out of space and that just didn't make it.
Okay.
Max, do you have a question?
What's CSU? Cosecant?
Cosecant
The which one?
goes with sine. 1 over sine.
And then secant is
Cosine. So you want, or at least in my head, I want cosecant and cosine to go together because I want the cos to go together, but they don't. So every trig function has a co and a normal one. So like sine and cosecant go together because it needs at least a co. Cosine already has the co, so it goes with secant, and then tangent and cotangent go together. I think tangent and cotangent make a lot of sense. The secant and cosecant are a little funny in my head. So okay, shall we do some of number 5 together to kind of practice this using the unit circle? You can use the unit circle on this quiz. So I want to make sure that we know how to use it. So let me pull it up. I'm going to pull both up at the same time. Okay. So we're actually starting with the cosecant. And Max, what did we just say cosecant was? 1 over
cosecant.
good, sine. And then sine is which variable, x or y? Y, very good. So if I'm doing cosecant of 3 pi over 4, I'm going to go to 3 pi over 4. And I just want to do 1 over y. So 3 pi over 4 is over here. My y is root 2 over 2. So I'm going to do 1 divided by root 2 over 2. Now we get kind of frustrated or we act a little funny when we got these fractions. Just multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So that's like 1 times 2 over root 2, which is just 2 divided by root 2. Now, you know, I'm going to ask you to rationalize it. So multiply by root 2 on top and bottom. I get 2 root 2 over 2. And then I've got a 2 on top and bottom, so those cancel. So my final answer here is just root 2. You may start noticing this on the quiz, but once you've done enough of these, you'll kind of like recognize some answers. Okay, so like if I have another problem like this, I'm probably not going to do the math all the way out. I just know it's going to go to root 2. Okay, so I don't think we did letter F underneath that. Is that blank for you guys too? Let's do letter F. It says secant of 5 pi over 4. Okay, so we gotta go to 5 pi over 4. And secant is 1 over which trig function?
Cosine.
1 over cos, and cos is which, your x or your y? X, good. So now we're thinking, okay, at 5 pi over 4, what is my x?
Negative root two.
Good, so I'm gonna do 1 over negative root 2 over 2. Oh, shoot, that was way too big. 1 over negative root 2 over 2. That looks just like the one I just did, right? You can do that math back out if it's not fresh in your head, but I literally just did this, so I'm not wasting my time. The only difference is I had a negative in this, so my answer must have a negative, so it's gonna be negative root 2. All right, how are we feeling so far? Doing okay? All right, and then now we haven't done G through L, right? I'm gonna jump back to G and we'll do G and J at the same time, H and K at the same time, et cetera, et cetera. All right, G says sine of 90. Okay, sine of 90. Sine is which variable? Good. Go to 90. Let's find our Y. What is it? 1. Oh, easy. If it's just that simple, leave it that simple. Don't make it harder than it has to be. Now, secant of negative pi over 2 is a little bit harder. Okay, so let's think through that. Secant is 1 over which trig function?
1 over.
Cosine. Cos, and cosine is what? X. Good. So we're gonna do 1 over x at negative pi over 2. Okay. Now, we are not doing our normal rotating positive is going this way, right? We're going negative pi over 2. What is that gonna be? What's that angle the same thing as? Negative pi over 2 means we're going negative how many degrees?
Is it 3 pi over 2?
3 pi over 2, it's 270, we're going negative 90 degrees, so we're going down here. Those are all the same name. I know coterminal angles isn't on this quiz, but this is like why I taught you this. Those are all the same names. 3 pi over 2, negative pi over 2, negative 90, 370, those are all the same name for the same angle. And so I go my negative pi over 2, which means I'm over here at 270 or 3 pi over 2. And if that helps you, you can write that down, 270. And what's my x value there? 0. So we're going to do 1 divided by 0, which is, what do we call that? No. Undefined, yeah. So you can have an undefined as an answer. Glad we got to talk about that one before you quiz. All right, shall we jump over and do cosine of pi? That's an easy one. Cosine is which one, x or y? Good, what's your x at pi? Negative 1, that's it, the end. Some take a little bit of work, but if it doesn't take a little bit of work, keep it moving. Okay, cotangent of 780. Do you see 780 anywhere on this picture? How do I start to find where it is? Subtract 360. Subtract 360. Let's get it smaller. We want it somewhere between 0 and 360. So we're going to minus off that 360 from both sides. That's going to give me a coterminal angle that I see on here. I get 420. Do you see that on your picture? What do we do? Do it again. Minus it again. Keep minusing until you get a number. What this means is 780 means that we go around the circle 2 times and then we go to an angle. So we're going to find out which angle that is, and that is 60. So 780 is if I went around, and then I went to 60. So lots of loops.
That doesn't change the x or y.
That doesn't change my x or y. And cotangent is in terms of what?
X over y.
It's x over y. Very good. Did we talk about that explicitly as a group? Okay. Tangent is y over x, so the reciprocal of tangent is cotangent, so it's x over y. Just want to make sure. So let's go find our x and y at 60. We're going to do 1/2 divided by root 3 over 2. I'll do that down here. Again, I know fractions of fractions really freak us out. As soon as you can, let's multiply by the reciprocal. 1/2 times 2 over root 3. The 2's get to cancel, so I get 1 over root 3. And then we multiply by root 3 on top and bottom to rationalize. You don't have to show me all these steps, but if you don't know how I'm getting there, I'm trying to explain them. Root 3 over 3. Right. Are you ready for the last two?
Yeah.
All right, these are actually pretty easy. Tan of 3 pi over 2. Can you find 3 pi over 2?
Yes, right down there.
Good. Tangent is what?
Y over X,
Y over X. What is your Y?
negative
What's your X?
0,
What's negative 1 divided by 0?
undefined.
Undefined. Am I moving too fast? Do I need to go over any of these? Okay. Last, cosine of 0. Can you find 0 on your graph?
Just 1, yeah.
Good. What's cosine?
X.
X. So it's 1. Good. You don't have to write down X, Y is Y over X, but to me, that helps me, especially as I'm learning it. So if that's helpful, write it. If it's not helpful, don't write it. Okay, this is where I would normally pause and give you the quiz, but I want to give you a little bit more time than this, so we're going to keep going with the notes, okay? What I'm going to talk about now is not on the quiz, but I do believe the first problem might help you with problems that are like on the quiz, because it's similar to problems that we've done before. You guys ready to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we do not need a unit circle for the first two, and I don't even think we need a calculator for these first two.
That's why I said, so, is there gonna be any word problems on the quiz?
Nope,
Okay.
they'll be on a test, but not on this quiz. Trying to get like, the reason I'm quizzing you is to be like, are we understanding what's happening in class? So if you do really badly, I'm like, oh, maybe I should reteach you. Or if everyone does really well and you do really badly, then you got to figure it out. So I'm trying to get like, if you've been here paying attention, you should do great. Okay, use the given to find the desired values. If cosine of theta equals 2 over 3 and tangent of theta is less than 0, find sine and cotangent. Okay, I know we all got a little confused. I want to only focus on the if part of this sentence, okay? These are like the problems where we have a triangle drawn on our axes and we like find the other side using the Pythagorean theorem. What we need to do is figure out what quadrant we're in. So if you remember last class, I taught you about all students take calculus. You remember learning that? Okay, cool. That's going to be helpful to me because I gave you two pieces of information and where both of those things are true is where we're going to find this triangle. The first piece of information is cosine of theta is positive 2 over 3. That is a positive number. So can you tell me which two quadrants there's a positive cosine? 4 and 1. Good. We always forget about 1. 1 is where all of them are positive. So 4 and 1 are where we have a positive cosine. So it's got to be in one of those. Without the other piece of information, though, I don't know which one it is. So I got to use the other piece of information, which says tan of theta is less than 0. Is that a positive or a negative number? Negative. Less than is negative. Where is tan negative? Where is it not positive? 2 and 4. Tan is positive in the A because all of them are positive in A, and then tan is positive in the T because the T stands for tan. So I want the two that are not 1 and 3, so that means 2 and 4 is where tan is negative. All right, which of those is where we overlap, where both of those things are true? Quadrant 4, good. So we're going to go draw a triangle in quadrant 4. This is why we learned the bow tie angle, so I want to make sure you draw a bow tie angle here. Have a better angle. Billy's really playing me today. Come on. Oh, Jesus. That's good. As good as we're gonna get. All right, so you want to make a bow tie angle. Remember, one side is always on the x-axis. You never ever touch the y-axis. Somebody in Alpha was asking me this. They were like, how do I know where theta goes? Because they're like, I know the right angle is always like on the x-axis, but how do I know where theta goes?
The closest one to like this.
It always goes towards the origin. So like right where the origin is, that's where my theta is going to be. Which is important because that's going to matter where opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent are. Got to make sure your theta is in the right spot. Okay. Now, I did tell you that cosine is 2/3. In terms of O's and H's and A's, what is cosine? A/H. So that means I gave us A and H. Let's go label O, A, and H on our triangle, and then where we see A, we'll put a 2, where we see H, we'll put the 3. So, hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. My opposite is across from theta, and then my adjacent is next to theta. So that means 2 is my adjacent, that's like my X side, and then 3 is my hypotenuse, and I don't know what my opposite side is. Could you find it?
Yeah, Pythagorean theorem.
Pythagorean theorem. If you need to, don't be afraid to label A, B, and C for your Pythagorean theorem. I know I've got a lot of labels on all of these sides. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. I just don't forget you can. 2 squared plus B squared equals 3 squared. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. Minus 4, I get B squared equals 5. And then we'll square root both sides. B equals square root 5. Okay, as I go to plug it in though, do you see how we're in the 4th quadrant? So did I go up root 5 or did I go down root 5? Down. How do I represent that I went down? A negative. I need a negative root 5. So we need to have a knowledge of where we are in the unit circle or where we are in this coordinate plane, because sometimes we'll have negatives, even though when I solved it, I didn't get a negative. Based on this picture, it's a negative number. Okay. We're ready to go now though, because it says find sine and cotangent. We have all of our sides, so we can do sine of theta and we can do cotangent of theta. What's sine?
So it's the over H.
Over H. So negative root 5 over 3. Cool. You guys okay with that? Now cotangent is what over what?
It's A over O.
A over O. So A is 2 over negative root 5. My only complaint is let's rationalize, so multiply by root 5 on top and bottom. The other thing that we kind of panic about is this negative. I don't really care where that negative goes as long as it's in your answer. It can go on bottom, it can go on top, it can go directly in the middle. As long as the fraction in general is negative, I don't really care where it goes. We doing okay with that? Can we do another one just like it? Okay, let's do it. All right, the next one says if sine of theta equals 1 over 5 and cosine of theta is less than 0, pause. I don't even care what the rest of the sentence says. Let's figure out what quadrant we're in. So I'm going to redraw my all students take calculus just so it's in my point of view. All right, sine, is that positive or negative? Positive. What quadrant is where sine is positive? With the A, and where else? With the S. So 1 and 2. Okay. Now cosine, is that a positive or negative number? Negative. Where's cosine negative? S and T. Where do I have both things that are true?
S.
S, which is quadrant 2. So we're gonna draw a triangle in quadrant 2. Right, my right angle is gonna go in, my theta goes by the origin. How do I figure out where 1 and 5 go again?
It's the sine, gonna be over H.
Good, so I've got O and H. So if we know sine is O over H, now we gotta go to our triangle and label O, A, and H. H is with the hypotenuse, O is opposite, A is along the bottom. And then I will also label 1 and 5 for O and for H. Am I moving too fast? We hanging in there? Give me signs of not life if you're struggling. All right, can you find that missing side? Do it. The only issue here is we are gonna have to simplify this radical. So root 24, I can break down, so make sure that you break it all the way down. And then when I go put that in my box, am I gonna put a positive 2 root 6 or a negative 2 root 6? Why, Ryan? Very good. When we go to the left on our X, that's a negative value. So we want to make sure that we represent it negatively. Do we have enough information to find any trig function now? Yeah, we don't have to find all of them. We just have to find the ones that they ask of us. So we're gonna do secant and tangent. I'll be quiet. You try those without me. Just like the last one, I don't care where the negative lives, if it goes on top or on bottom. I have mine on bottom. We haven't really done this, but remember that when we are rationalizing like a 2 root 6 on the bottom, I want to multiply by root 6 on both top and bottom. You don't need to bring the 2 with you. Bringing the 2 with you isn't wrong, it's just like, it's unneeded. It will make for a more simplifying later on, so if I just don't do the 2, then it's fine anyway. How are we doing? What questions do we have? All right, I'm kind of at a stopping place because we'll finish 7 after our quiz. You're gonna have a few extra minutes of lunch. Happy Wednesday. And happy quiz day.
Happy Wednesday.